How do I even know if that's recording? Hello! Hey YouTube! So I've been tagged in a video and the tag title is How I Read. So there's a whole bunch of questions that I'm going to answer. I actually got tagged in a tagging video. How cool! Alright, so these are the questions. How do you find out about new books to read? I find new books just through going to bookstores. I find new books on the internet, I find them in bookstores. I spend a lot of time in bookshops. My mother and I, we both have this compulsion to enter a bookstore whenever we see one. So we can't just walk past, we look longingly in there and lovingly, and then we just have to go in. I actually see a lot of the new books I want to read on the shelves in the bookstore. And then I get really annoyed because I just want to read all of the books in the whole entire world. Living my everyday life, I seem to find a lot of books, or books seem to find me. How did you get into reading? I don't know if I ever really got into reading. It was just sort of a thing that I've always done. I think maybe my parents may have read to me when I was little. When we were going to bed and stuff, I think Dad used to read Lord of the Rings to me. I remember rereading Lord of the Rings when I was 11, when I was 11. And I'd already heard the stories, so I think Dad must have read them to us when we were kids. And of course, this book. Douglas Adams! How have your tastes in books changed since you've gotten older? My taste in books haven't really changed that much at all because I'm still completely in love with books like Douglas Adams and Lord of the Rings and all those things I used to read as a kid. But as a kid, I also used to read books such as this, Rabbit. I absolutely love this book, and I still do. So this is actually more vivid in my memory than it is when I look at the page. So this image when I was a kid was really intense. This book and many other kids' books, I adore them and I adore it, and I still love them and I still own them and treasure them, and I think my readings haven't really changed that much. This is poetry, it's really nice, and I just love reading it still. I think I'm still reading the big fat books and the little skinny cute books, so my tastes haven't really changed at all much. I was a big reader back then, and I'm a big reader now, and you'd think you would have changed in 26 years, but I'm pretty true to my stories. I love stories, I always have, and I think the bigger and more in-depth the story, the better, but I can get big and in-depth in little stories. How did you get into booktubing? Okay, I got into booktubing by accident, really. I decided that I was going to do a challenge where I want to read one book a week for a whole year. Then I would review them and put up a video about it every week, every Friday. And so I found this community of booktube and I was like, these are my people. This is how I'm going to do this. So this is where I am, and yeah. So that's how I got into booktube. How do you react when you don't like the ending of a book? How do I react? On multiple occasions, I have actually physically, at a big plot twist in a book, thrown the book across the room. So I hurl it away from me because I'm like, no, I don't want that in my life anymore. And then I cry a little, probably. I cry a lot at books. And then I'll go and get the book and lovingly reassure it that it's okay and I love it. And even if I hate the book, which I haven't really found many books that I've hated. In fact, if I do start to hate a book, I tend to just stop reading them. So my reaction to a bad book, ending how I don't want it to ending, is either just to throw it away, get really angry, pick it back up, continue reading it, or to just put the book down and walk away. But that doesn't happen very often. I tend to love stories and I tend to see where the author is coming from. Even if I don't particularly like it, I tend to understand what they're doing, and that means if I was writing the book, I would probably do it a different way, but I have respect for authors and I like that they do things differently to me. That's how I react, either really positively in that, well, that was shit, but I liked it anyway, or I just tune completely out and stop reading. How often have you taken a sneaky look at the back page of a book to see if it's a happy ending or not? And who do I tag? I don't do it to see if there's a happy ending. I'm just going to say that straight up, but I do very often read the very last line or sentence in a book. It's really cool. You open up the first page and you read the first sentence and then you read the last sentence and then you see if it ties in together as a little story, and if it does, that's wonderful, and it's like the happiest I can get. Is so happy when the beginning and the end comes together perfectly. Almost every single book, I would say, I read the last line and the first line. I don't know if it's a particularly weird thing or not, and to tag someone in this video, I'm just going to tag anyone who wants to. If you watch this video, please tell me how you read. Another question that's not in here that I think should be is, how do you read? I personally like to read a book until it's done. Like, if I read a book over more than 3 or 4 days, it really drags out for a long time. So I either read a book really fast all at once, I just sit there and I read and I read and I read and I stop and I eat something and then I read in every single minute that I've got. Or I read a book over like 7 years. For example, I'm still reading Ben Elton. I haven't given up on it completely yet, Blind Faith, but it will probably take me 7 years to finish. I've already been reading it for about a year. Like, I haven't forgotten about it, I'm just not actively reading it, so it's taking that long to read it. So they're the 2 ways in which I read books. So if you do this tag, please tell me, do you read like in front of the fire? Do you read on the train to work? Do you read just before you fall asleep in bed? Do you sit down and read all at once like I tend to? Or do you take a year and a half like I tend to on books that bore me slightly? Let me know. So that's my how I read tag. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you want to know more, and like this video if you like this video. Span out.